Russia announced its exit from grain export agreements, allegedly because of an attack on the ships of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. According to the Ministry of Defense of Russia, explosions in Sevastopol, which is in the Russian-occupied Crimea, damaged a naval minesweeper and partially damaged infrastructure. At the same time, according to media reports, the explosions damaged at least 3 Russian-caliber missile carriers. The operational command south of the armed forces of Ukraine underlined that the explosions could have been caused by unsuccessful launches of anti-aircraft missiles by the Russian occupiers. In addition, Moscow accused the Royal Navy of being involved in the drone strike in occupied Sevastopol, saying that they had been preparing the Ukrainian military for an attack on the ships of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine considers that the explosions are just a pretext to exit from the grain export agreement. In fact, Russia intended to do this for a long time.
By suspending its participation in the grain deal on a false pretext of explosions 220 kilometers away from the grain corridor, Russia blocks 2 million tons of grain on 176 vessels. Already at sea, enough to feed over 7 million people. Russia has planned this well in advance. Dmytro Kuleba, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, on Twitter.
A few days before the news of the explosions in Sevastopol, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia had already expressed its criticism of the agreements.
We can see that the part about the Ukrainian grain is being fulfilled with its problems plus or minus. It is mostly being fulfilled. We will make a decision on the grain agreement before November 18th, taking into account the actual data.
Since August 1st, when the first ship left the Ukrainian port of Odessa, and until now, Ukraine has exported almost 10 million tons of products, half of them to Africa and Asia. And the UN World Food Programme sent another 190,000 tons of wheat to countries on the brink of hunger, even though the Russian army launched numerous attacks on the Ukrainian infrastructure.
We would like to emphasize that the implementation of the Black Sea Grain Initiative is of a humanitarian nature. This is the reason why the Ukrainian side did not close the grain corridor, even despite the Russian attacks on July 23rd, the day after the signing of the initiative, on September 23rd on the port of Odessa, as well as recent attacks on the energy infrastructure, which cut off the port infrastructure.
Russia has already reported that it is prepared to supply about 500,000 tons of grain to countries for free in the coming month, allegedly because of a rich harvest. This allegedly rich harvest also creates concerns regarding the new investigations about large-scale thefts of Ukrainian grain from the territory temporarily occupied by Russia. Indeed, the Financial Times reports that back in June the Russian occupiers set up an illegal enterprise, the state grain operator, in the occupied part of the Zaporizhia region, through which they sold stolen grain. The ships were sent to Turkey for unloading.
And by the way, this is a greeting to all those who call for some kind of negotiations with Russia. For example, there is a grain export agreement, it was signed by Russia, there were no objections. Moreover, Russia even fulfilled them for some time. And then it said, we don't want any more. And what is the value of any agreement with Russia after that? Almost zero.
The world community should not allow a bunch of people in the Kremlin to decide whether food will be on the tables of people in Egypt or Bangladesh. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky stated that exit from the agreements is Moscow's predictable intention to bring back the threat of large-scale famine.
Algeria, Egypt, Yemen, Bangladesh, Vietnam, other countries, very different countries from different parts of the world, but they can all be equally destabilized by this Russian decision to block exports.
Ukraine remains a reliable partner for the civilized world and is ready to continue to supply all necessary agricultural products and be a guarantor of food stability, but Russia is not concerned about world hunger.
Russia is attempting to position itself as the main defender of the interests of African countries, while creating problems for these countries. But Russia does not pay the slightest attention to their interests, and moreover tries to involve them into the terrorist game.
The Minister of Infrastructure of Ukraine warned about the immediate consequences of the exit of the Russian Federation from the agreements. The Ikaria Angel vessel with 40,000 tons of grain for Ethiopia on board was unable to leave the Ukrainian port on October 30th. Reported by Roman Smoler, Yulia Bezborodko, UATV News.